Welcome back to the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Nick Tammaro filling in for Darren, who has a new nickname, Disney Darren. He was ambushed by pirates in Disney World, but he's on his way back. Nick, thank you for joining. I know you're very busy. Keeneland is opening tomorrow. You're the morning line maker for Keeneland Spring Meet, track announcer, Houston Astros fan. Got off to a rough start, but might be turning it around. So we're going to talk Keeneland today, also some Aqueduct, and let's jump right in and talk our best bets and fades. So James, I'll start with you today. Tell me your best bet of the week.
My best bet is number 2, Wyco in the Commonwealth Stakes, the Grade 3 Commonwealth Stakes at Keeneland on Saturday. I think this is the perfect spot for this up-and-coming dirt horse to earn his first stakes win. Now, Wyco was pegged as a turf synthetic horse initially by Wesley Ward. He's only won 1 of 9 starts on those surfaces, but he switched to dirt last October at Keeneland, experienced a wide trip that day, surged to the lead off of the far turn, and I really thought showed a turn of foot that was completely missing in his turf and synthetic starts, powered away to win by about 5 lengths, earned a triple-digit, career best triple-digit Bristnet speed rating for that effort. Off of this real encouraging effort versus entry-level allowance rivals, Wyco came back at Churchill Downs, caught a field, non-winners of 2 other than allowance field with a bunch of stakes veterans in it, and even traveled wider that day, pressing extremely hot fractions, surged to the lead in upper stretch, and grudgingly gave way late to an off-the-pace Dennington, who had everything set up perfectly from that day. Still a very strong showing. Wesley Ward gave this horse a comebacker at Turfway Park. He ran 3rd that day. He's going to move forward off that effort, run a strong race on Saturday in the Commonwealth Stakes, Wyco. Nick, who do you have as your best bet of the weekend?
Yeah, I love that pick, James. I went to the Bayshore at Aqueduct, which goes as race 9 on Saturday afternoon, and I'm going to take the 1 Mission Beach for Brittany Russell with her husband Sheldon Russell riding. This one is 8-1 on the morning line. I thought this was a pretty attractive price. I'm kind of a sucker for cutbacks. I like horses shortening up to sprints off of routes, and I thought the Withers was maybe a better effort for this colt than it looks. He didn't break all that great. You'll see him there as the 7 getting out of the gate somewhat slowly, and then he ends up at various points during this race a little wide. He was inside early. This was a day where you did want to save ground, but I thought when the real running started here, he did get off the inside, and he just kind of spun his wheels late. He's now coming back off a layoff in a spot where he can sit back and make one run. I think there's some suspect speed that's going to set the table for him, and I felt like he'd be a good price and a horse who could be making up ground in the late stages. I'll take that 8-1 all day long, hoping that Mission Beach can have a few things break his way this time around, going the 7 furlongs.
I don't blame you with that price. I like it. I'm going to take it over to Keeneland to talk the big race, the Bluegrass Stakes. Now, I might be getting a little cute here with my pick because Sierra Leone is my top Kentucky Derby contender, and he's in this field. But I'm going with Just a Touch at 7-2, a Brad Cox runner. And it's kind of a gut instinct feeling here that I had with Catching Freedom, who just won for Brad Cox in the Louisiana Derby. Now, Just a Touch, he finished second last out as the favorite in the Gotham, and I feel like with this added distance, it is his first try at 2 turns, but with the added distance, I think he can handle it and certainly is bred to excel at the added distance as well. He's got some really sharp workouts, and I just, like I said, it's just that gut instinct that something's going to happen here where we get Brad Cox winning this race at the Bluegrass. He was the top trainer last meet at Keeneland and in the spring meet as well last spring. So I'm going to go against my top Kentucky Derby contender here and pick Just a Touch. I know it's a very, very contentious field, and James will probably talk some more about that later, but for now, I'm going with Brad Cox, Just a Touch.
I like both those picks. I'll go back to Nick's Mission Beach. You know, that colt got bet down early, Nick, in that Withers. He wound up, like I thought, drifting up to about 8-1 that day, but he definitely looked like a sprinter to me on paper going into the race. So I totally see the potential for a much improved effort on the cutback. And Just a Touch, I thought he got a little bit lost, perhaps in upper stretch of the Gotham, was a little bit worried watching him live that day that he was going to make any kind of impact in the final furlongs. But he came again, I thought, in the final 16th of a mile to finish a good second. And like you said, Ashley, this Justified colt definitely looks like he's built for 2 turns. Could be poised for a good showing in both his first 2-turn and fast track start.
Well, let's talk about the horses we're fading at a short price. Nick, who do you have?
Yeah, so I want to fade Mischief Magic in the Shakertown on Saturday afternoon. This one of the things we're going to see over the course of the first few days at Keeneland is we've got some runners coming over for Charlie Appleby, and of course he needs no introduction to an American racing audience, as we've seen him have a tremendous amount of success over the years, winning back-to-back runnings of the Breeders' Cup Mile and a number of other Breeders' Cup races, including the Juvenile Turf Sprint, I should say, with Mischief Magic back in 2022. My thought on Mischief Magic is that, taking that race itself, and of course he's run since then, but he got an enormous pace to run at that day. I don't like the opportunity for an off-the-pace horse this early in the year on the Keeneland Turf Course, and I'd prefer one that's going to be a little bit more forwardly placed. There are some horses in here that are going to have some speed that can really get the jump on him, and 5.5 is a distance at which he's really going to have to hustle to get there. So I'll go ahead and fade Mischief Magic this time around.
I think it's great. I mean, I think it's a big boost for Keeneland to get this Charlie Appleby stable, group of horses stable in Keeneland this April meet. I agree, though. His horses have the enormous. They're just going to be overbet. I mean, he won 3 races in the Breeders' Cup in 2022 at Keeneland. Everybody knows him, and the international success and success he's had in America over the last 3 seasons. So I could definitely see that pick with Mischief Magic. And I'm going to fade number 10 Pounce in the Appalachian Stakes at Keeneland on Saturday. Pounce is a filly that in her second career start came at Turfway Park in December. She was unplaced that day, went to Gulfstream Park, led wire to wire in a maiden win, and then rallied from off the pace to win the Grade 3 Here Comes the McBride Stakes in her last start. I don't think that was a very strong field. And Here Comes the Bride Stakes. The favorite that day, the even money 6-5 favorite, Azara. She had gotten drilled like in the Chelsea Park by Living Magic, who's 30-1 in this field. I think there's several rivals that weren't competing in that Gulfstream Park Stakes in this Appalachian Stakes that have a chance to run better than Pounce. She also drew a tough outside post. And I'm going to play against her at expected short odds in the Appalachian, Ashley.
Yeah, there's a few runners I like from the Florida Oaks in this race. And then I also think the Sherry DeVoe runner is really interesting in this spot as well. Well, I'm going to stick with Keeneland as well and talk about number 3, Running Bee at 8-5. No offense, Nick, but I don't like the 8-5 price on this horse in race 11. It's a 1 1/16 mile allowance for 4-year-olds and up. It's the final race on Keeneland's Saturday card. And Running Bee is an English Channel 5-year-old who had the lead in the stretch in the Tampa Bay Stakes at today's distance, got caught and ultimately finished a half-length second. 2-back, he weakened an upper stretch in the Fort Lauderdale to finish 8th by 5 lengths, and he's 1 for 3 at the distance. He seems to need the lead, and he did win in 8-to-wire fashion at Keeneland, racing 1 1/8 of a mile. But I see some other early speed-type runners in this field. I think he's going to get pushed. We might see a late runner like Masterpiece win this race. I also like Dominican Pioneer, who had triple-digit E1 and E2 ratings passed out. The credit's interesting as well. So I'm fading Running Bee at 8-5. It's too short of a price for me, in my opinion. What do you think, Nick? You made the morning line.
Hey, no argument from me. I try and make the prices, and sometimes with success, sometimes not. But no endorsement of him at 8-5 from me, no, for sure. So I'm totally on board with trying to fade a favorite at a short price without question. I thought the public would really latch on to him dropping out of the stakes race, but I think you made a compelling case for him from a pace perspective that makes it at least seem like things could be a little bit tougher than what initially meets the eye. So no, I'm all for that. Let's beat as many favorites as we can.
Well, before we move on, normally Darren does the promos. I'll mention a few that we have going on this weekend, particularly at Keeneland. We have the daily double down. If you opt in and you hit 2 daily doubles, you'll get a 25% boost on all winning daily double wagers at Keeneland every Wednesday through Friday in April. See the T's and C's for more details there. We also have our Road to the Kentucky Derby profit boost. If you opt in, you'll get a 15% boost on winning Win, Exacta, Trifecta, and Superfecta wagers on all eligible races at Keeneland on Saturday. And finally, I wanted to mention that tomorrow on Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Power Hour. You get a 15% boost on winning Win, Exacta, Trifecta, and Superfecta wagers on all tracks at eligible races from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. James and I will be live handicapping with Darren as well. So hopefully we'll pick some winners. We had 5 winners from 6 races last time we did the live handicapping. So hopefully we can at least match that high bar we've set already.
Yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow's go around, the second go around on that power hour. Just to clarify, we were all given picks in the races, but we gave out 5 winners in those 6 races. So it wasn't just one pick per race.
Right, right.
That'd be pretty good, though.
Bottom, James.
For my what else, though, I'm going to mention the 2 big races at Keeneland and Aqueduct, the Grade 1 Bluegrass, Grade 2 Wood Memorial. I thought Deterministic. He was a sharp winner of the Gotham. I think he's the horse to beat in the Wood Memorial, but the price is going to be way too short on him. I'm going to select number 1, Resilience, as my top pick. I thought his effort in that 4th place effort in the
1 minute 14.74 seconds. Track Phantom charging on the outside is Resilience. Hall of Fame flattens out. Chasing Freedom trying to keep a straight path. And Sierra Leone charging hard on the outside. It's Track Phantom. Resilience chasing Freedom in tight quarters between horses. Sierra Leone on the outside for Tyler Gaffalione. Sierra Leone track Phantom down.
4th place effort. Resilience, I figure, will show speed from the inside. He's got back-to-back 5 furlong consecutive 5 furlong workouts in preparation, and I just looking for an improved performance in Resilience second stakes appearance. Now, in the Bluegrass Stakes at Keeneland, I found it interesting that Chad Brown entered 2 other runners in there. Both of them have at least some tactical ability to them. And one or both, to me, could be out there on the front end, ensuring a solid pace. I think it's going to be a favorable setup for Sierra Leone. If I'm looking to play the Bluegrass in straight wagers or in vertical, I'll be looking for vertical exotics. I'll mention one colt that's got a chance to outrun his odds in my mind. It's number 11, Encino. I thought his win, the 3rd time out off of a maiden win in late January in the March 2nd John Battaglia Memorial, was more impressive visually than it looks like in the PPs. And I think he's going to keep moving forward. In fact, Brad Cox has a pair of 3-year-olds, I think, that are real potentially up-and-comers that were running at Turfway this winter at big prices at stakes this weekend at Keeneland. Tennessee is 15-1 on the morning line in the Transylvania on Friday. Encino 12-1 in the Bluegrass. I wouldn't be surprised to see either one of those horses or both of them run well. So those are my thoughts on the big races. Nick, what do you got for us?
Yeah, you brought up the Wood Memorial. I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Just a really fascinating group, a big field coming together, and Deterministic is going to be a pretty heavy favorite. I think David Aragona made him about 7-5 on the morning line, coming out of that Gotham win that we saw a little bit earlier when Ashley was talking about Just a Touch. And you'll see Deterministic in the pink silks knife his way between horses here. The interesting thing about this horse, guys, is that this was just his 2nd career start. And he was coming off roughly about a 7-month layoff, having been unseen since August when he debuted in about the 4th week of the Saratoga meet. So this is a horse that's really taken on a lot in a short period of time and just seems to be responding each time around, which you don't get all that often. I did see the connections kind of flirt with the idea of training him up to the Kentucky Derby, which would have been a little tough to tolerate with a horse with only 2 career starts. So I'm glad they've opted to go here. We'll see how effective he is at 1 1/8 miles, and he gets Joel Rosario to come to town to ride him here. So I'm really intrigued by Deterministic, more so from a fan perspective than from a wagering one. I do think that from a wagering perspective, you have to be open to some other ideas with a big field and a pace scenario and distance that Deterministic has likely not seen yet. But he is definitely one that I want to take a note in terms of watching and seeing how things shake out for him in the Wood Memorial.
Yeah, I'll just say about Deterministic, he overcame a troubled trip in that maiden race at Saratoga. I think that's a figure in his cap, considering he's so lightly raced. And, you take a look at the pedigree, Liam's map, he was a miler, and you see Speightstown as the dam sire, and Speightstown was a champion sprinter. But believe me, that 2nd, 3rd, 4th dam, there's plenty of stamina influences there, and I'm not too worried about the pedigree at this point in time. We'll see how he handles 2 turns on Saturday.
I have to throw it out real quick because you didn't mention Tuscan Sky, which is actually a horse I bet in the last Kentucky Derby future wager. And he's coming off a big win at Fairgrounds, had a 97 Brisnet speed figure. Obviously, Deterministic had a 99, so has to at least match that number. But another interesting running in the field. And if you're looking at the current pool 6 of the Kentucky Derby future wager, I'm pulling it up right now live. We have Deterministic. You got 24-1 odds right there. You've got Tuscan Sky right now, way down here. Hold on one second. 19-1. And then Resilience, you can get it's changing. It's listed at 99-1, so I don't know where it's going to settle. But right now, it looks like I've got the lowest price. So if you all like those horses, you should jump on that future wager right now.
Hey, I'll just say this, Resilience, I mean, he's got the opportunity to be the ultimate slip through the cracks horse. Anna Marie was 5th in that Risen Star, and in the week after that, they had last month they had pool 5 of the Kentucky Derby Future Wager, and Anna Marie was 20-something to 1, and Resilience, after beating him, was 128 to 1. So I thought, I bet a couple bucks on him. I thought that was the clear value on the board. The Risen Star has, produced the top 3 finisher in the Derby the last 5 years. And like I said, I thought it was the deepest prep so far, and wouldn't let a runner like that slip by me at huge odds.
Well, to wrap up, I'll talk some Kentucky Oaks preps. We have 3 that are worth 100 points to the winner. And the first one is on Friday, the Ashland, which I think is the most exciting Oaks prep we've had for the 3-year-old season, at least. We have Just FYI, Jody's Pride, Candy, the top 3 from the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, all competing here, plus Impel, who she closed as the top individual betting choice in the Kentucky Oaks Future Wager a month ago as well. Very contentious race. I'm going with Candy, though, at 6-1. She drew the rail. She's got Louise Saez aboard, coming off a 5-month layoff for Todd Pletcher, but her workouts look really good. We also have 2 other preps real quick. I'll mention the Gazelle at Aqueduct. We've got Gin and Life Talk in that race. And then we have the Santa Anita Oaks over at Santa Anita, of course. And we have Copian, who's eligible for points, going up against Kinza, who is ineligible for points. But Kinza beat her by 5 lengths in the Las Virgenes last out. So maybe Copian can run a big race here and beat her. But another fun race to watch this weekend as well.
Nick, you heard me with that. I like Impel. I like the new face in the crowd, and you put her 2-1. I know it, nothing personal, but gosh, I'm hoping Just FYI takes more money for my win bets.
Yeah, I think the buzz out there about Impel and those big speed figures are going to be more than enough to tip the scales in her direction. But, this race is similar in that sense to last year's Ashland, where Punch Bowl ended up a pretty solid favorite, and Wonder Wheel was in there as well. Now, Wonder Wheel, unlike Just FYI, had a prior start in 2023, whereas right now, obviously, Just FYI doesn't. And, I'm intrigued to see how the public will handle that, because Just FYI was supposed to run the Devona Dale at the beginning of March and didn't get there because of an illness and ended up missing a little bit of training time, has come back and worked twice. But, I'm not one generally that reads too much into that. But in a situation like this, where we have some insight into what's gone on, it's not a ringing endorsement of her candidacy for this race from a betting perspective. So I'd be trying to bet Impel and beating Just FYI out of the exotics. But it should be a really fun edition of the Ashland, undoubtedly bringing together what look like the best eligible 3-year-old fillies out there right now.
Well, that's all the time we have today for the TwinSpires Jury. Head to TwinSpires.com or the TwinSpires app for that Keeneland Daily Double Down, the Road to the Kentucky Derby Profit Boost, and a whole lot of other promos as well. Nick, thank you for joining us. Good luck at Keeneland this meet, and good luck to your Astros, I suppose I'll say. And James, good luck to you too, because I know you're very busy. We're all busy. Derby is about a month away, so it's a crazy time here at Churchill Downs and everywhere else. So good luck to everyone wagering this weekend, and we'll see you next time.